All right, so I've hit start again. It still says offline, but I'll give it a second. Live streaming. Okay, it's starting. Live. Not yet. It says waiting, but on the Creator Studio it says live. I can see it. I can see the feedback on the Creator Studio. So I guess it says that we're live and no one's watching. So I don't think we're in the same place we think we are. I think we're showing somewhere else, and you've got the embed is either wrong. So we're all in, I'm going to tell all these folks they're in the wrong place. We're all on the wrong show. New link coming. What? Which page? Which page specifically? Yeah, well, no one is there. They're all on the YouTube site in the chat. So that thing is wrong. That because you created a show, but now we're streaming to the entire thing, right? Okay. Okay. So did you change it back? So you've changed the other one. So I just tell everyone to go back to the website. Okay. Okay. Okay, hang on. I'm going to do that. I am now at live.asp.net. I'm going to click on that link. And now we're in a live stream. That's what it says. So did you change it back? And there are people here. And I need to change my account in this window back to me so I can chat as myself. Yeah. So right now everyone can only see you. And so that's right, because what I would have to do is learn how to is I could do this, and now they all see me. See? So now they can all see me.
Yeah, but they can't hear John.
They can't hear John apparently.
I can't hear John.
Ah, okay. So let me figure this out. They can't hear you. So everyone's just listening to me apparently. We see John and hear Damien. What a comedy of errors. All right. So I'll just relay everything you say. Hang on. So let me I'm going to blame the software we're using for the video call that shall remain nameless, because it is sending your sound to the wrong thing. You ready? I'm going to change it. How about that? Can people hear it?
Oh, now I can see your studio room. Yeah, neat.
This is so funny. I think this is the problem. I don't think this is set up in a way where I can hear you at the same time. So unless Golnaz, if I plug my headphones into here, John?
Yes, I'm talking.
Okay, I can hear both of us now.
We should probably tell people what we're doing at some point.
What we're what?
What all the hubbub is.
Okay.
Why things are different.
I can now hear both of us, and I've actually got feedback from the mics now. This is better. Okay.
This is brilliant.
So if I do this, and I do this, can people hear John now? Can people hear John?
Hello,
Yes!
can you hear me?
Can you hear John?
I can hear John now. I plugged into here, and I can hear John now.
I don't know how that's even working.
All right.
It's a mystery. Oh, it's a mystery.
Oh, man.
Oh, this is fantastic. And so I can make John on the camera by doing that.
Whoa.
And now you're on camera.
I'll pretend like I know what's happening because
So everyone says that you sound like a potato.
That's about right.
Okay. So I want to apologize to everybody. This this was going to be amazing. This was going to be our first time in the new Channel 9 studio, and this was just going to be a better stream than the Hangouts.
We're going to blow your minds.
And what is quite clear is my video looks incredible here. So I'm hoping that the video
it looks good. Yeah,
is good. I don't know. I'm hoping that your video, like when I switch to you, that your video stream is pretty good. I'd love to hear feedback in the chat. Okay, so they're saying John is clear. Some people are saying that you're louder than me, which is odd, and some people say that you sound like a potato.
Okay.
And some people
haters gonna hate.
Some people say that you have a weird reverb. And then so some people, my video is awesome. So I'm going like through a 4K capture device straight into my laptop through OBS straight into YouTube. So this is like by easily the best video stream we've ever had. Where we're having some trouble is we did have a machine set up. It's back there behind the camera. And it's supposed to give me all this wonderful ability to hit buttons to change scenes and stuff, but we lost the audio on it like 2 minutes before we were supposed to get this working, and so then we had to revert to a different thing.
Improvise.
So people are also saying that the mic seems to be quite sensitive, so I have to speak right into the mic for it to sound consistent. Is that right? How's that sound?
So, sounds good to me.
Well, I think you're being picked up now.
Oh, I'm hearing you on the Teams.
You're hearing me through the call, which isn't coming through this audio. It says live site isn't playing videos, is not allowed to play on other sites. So when we created the embed link, remember we've had this problem before? You have to enable the streaming channel to be embedded. It's an explicit thing. And we may not have done that for... And now people are saying this is much better, but I'm not sure what they're referring to. Sounds better. Okay, things sound better. Okay. We both sound better? Is that what people are saying? We both sound better? And they see more hair. Yes, I have more hair, and the camera is better quality. So we're probably picking up more hair. All right, well, we're in a situation where we could attempt to do a show of some sorts right now. A short one.
Yes.
Okay. So let's try to. You've got some links to share?
I do have a few links.
All right, so I'm going to flip to you. I'm going to put you. Everyone is looking at you now.
Oh, good.
So if you share your screen. Ooh.
I've attempted to do just that.
Okay, I now see your profile picture. I don't see your desktop yet. Oh, there we go. I see your desktop. Everyone says that you sound like you're calling from a phone booth. So I'm going to guess it has to do with the fact that your audio is coming out through the display capture device, and then that is the audio that everyone is hearing. So it's all right. We'll keep tweaking this, folks, until we get a good setup in here. But it sounds like the video is good, so we've improved that part. Everything else is worse, but the video is good. And
all right,
we'll work from there.
We'll take that one win.
Okay.
So I will do my best to describe stuff, and if you want to jump in with your better sounding audio, feel free to.
Okay.
So this is cool. This is from Andrew Locke. We've been showing a lot of posts from him using Docker, and here he had a case where he wanted to actually build on full framework and mono. And so he walks through what he did in order to make that happen. And as I always appreciate from him, he added a TLDR on there for us. But basically there's a props file which tells MS Build where to find the mono runtime.
Okay.
So there's a mono framework path override. So he sets that up. He talks about some other things. Directory.build.props should have worked, but it didn't work in his case. He wasn't sure why. And then he goes through and talks about adding references for facades and getting XUnit running, and then just kind of summarizes it. So this is kind of I read a bunch of stuff, I found some GitHub issues, I got it to work, and here's what I did. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Can you turn off the preview of me in the bottom right-hand corner if you want?
Sure.
Nice.
All right. Okay, cool. This is Shane Boyer's, which hopefully will load. So what happened here? If not, I'll open it in a new tab or something. There it is. So here he's been going through a series where, that workshop we did in the past, we've done many times. So he updated it and set up CI/CD. It's got cool build status, all that kind of stuff on the repo. As part of doing that, he wanted to be able to check through all the different save point folders for what NuGet packages are out of date.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great place where using the .NET outdated global tool helped him out. So he just went in, did .NET updated, and he's able to see for all the subfolders what needs to be updated.
We showed that tool on the show before, right?
Yes.
That was someone in the community who built that.
Yeah, and I think this is Jerry Pelser who did this one. And I think there's discussion of this for like a more official tool, but this is this .NET outdated global tool. So
cool.
Very cool. Okay, cool post from David Pine. This is at Cream City Code, and then I think he did it somewhere else as well. He took Angular and ASP.NET Core API and the front end integration with a camera, and basically did a photo booth. So these are capturing pictures of people at the conference and then pulling them in and converting using Image Sharp. And then he's creating an animated GIF, and he's putting it into blob storage and sending SMS out via Twilio. So
nice.
A lot of just kind of, hooking a lot of cool stuff together. So I like this. I mean, this is non-trivial to get all these things working together, but I do like the way that he kind of pulled together. Here's, I'm not going to try and hand code an animated GIF. I'm going to use Image Sharp, and kind of like hooking services together really intelligently.
Right.
So that's cool. It kind of goes through, shows the Angular hookup, and then I'm going to skip way down to the end. Shows kind of the putting it together, and talks about requirements if you want to run this yourself.
Cool.
Pretty neat. So this is from Laurent. He showed. So this was a combination of community. This was in Amsterdam. This was a live event, and then they also had an online event. Carol helped organize this, and this is a online hackathon where they went through and just hacked on stuff. So this was a lot of people worked on CoreFX, Core CLR. And just kind of, added contributions, worked together on stuff. This was cool. He put in a screenshot of his pull requests and stuff. So I would love to see more of this. I'm very interested from the community, like from .NET Foundation point of view, and just kind of overall, if people would like to see more of this sort of thing. But I think this is pretty neat to have to work directly, the .NET team, at Microsoft, the community working together on this stuff. So.
Cool. I'm fiddling with the audio while you're talking to see if any of these switches are making things better, and I think I might have made you sound better. I'm not sure.
Oh, good. Okay.
Or no one can hear you now.
Somebody said I sounded normal for a second.
Yeah, so I clicked the button again, and we'll see if it continues.
Okay. So Oleg sent me this. This is the Auth0 wiki, and this is just showing their documentation for hooking up Auth0, and this is including Auth0 authentication for both a web app front end and then a web API, and kind of coordinating it all together. So, I clicked through and read through all this. It's really just well documented, a lot of pictures and stuff. So I love to see this from the, Auth0 is a good identity provider. They have free offerings for open source developers and stuff, and it's cool just to see people writing this level of quality of documentation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, Damian Bowden wrote up, so we previously showed shows where he had been going through and updating identity pages to use like Bootstrap 4 and get it working with Webpack and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So here he integrated localization.
Oh,
so
nice.
This is really cool. So he went in, he's set it up for Swiss localization. He set up all the stuff, configuring in the middleware. He showed, setting up the front end views, getting those localized strings, and then also doing the back end code for that as well. So really cool. And then going through and showing, here's how that all works.
That's wow. Did he happen to publish those as a new package at all, or is it just a walkthrough of how to add it manually?
So there are GitHub links for it.
Okay.
I'm not sure. This is localized for one. So Damien, if you're watching, Damian Bowden, or this, would that be interesting to have like a localized package community package available for this or something?
Yeah, because all these pages are in a package now. That's how they're delivered, but they're not written to support localization. So this is basically updating those pages to support localization, which would then require them to be recompiled into a new package, which is the identity pages that use the localization features, and then you could plug in different languages sort of separately to that. It wouldn't require a package for that. So that's actually interesting. We could actually consider whether this should just be part of the default packages, and that this could effectively turn into a PR at some point, and the default identity pages that are now delivered via a package would support the localization primitives we have. Now, we haven't done a good end-to-end. Like, I don't know whether what we have right now would work with that really well. But that's, someone's trying. That's good. So we should figure that out.
Yeah. Yep. That's cool. Okay. I'll get in touch with him and we can configure. Yep. Okay. This was cool. So Mohammed wrote up this thing about, so this is a nice feature in EF Core 2.1 release, which is the data seeding kind of as a first class thing. And what's cool here is my understanding of the big feature of data seeding, it's something where it integrates more cleanly. So before, I always felt like I was finding some hook and then saying like, if this table exists, it doesn't exist, create it, jam all this data in there. This is actually like supported, for instance, with migrations. So you can have your migrations can support seed data, which is cool because then over time, if my seed data changes, my migrations can change with that. Yeah, so pretty cool. So he just kind of goes through and shows how to do that.
Cool.
Okay, so this one, we've shown this before. This the framework benchmarks tech and power around 16. Towards the end of it, there's this tweet down here from Martin. And Martin just said, hey, like, check out what happened when I updated my site. So that was cool. And then there was some discussion on his tweet. So, and, from Hacker News and stuff. And people are like, well, let's see a real production application, because that was a personal site. So he works at a company called Just Eat. And so he actually posted a thing showing what happened when they updated their production app. And it's a non-trivial application. It has a front end, a web and API tier that are using ASP.NET Core 2.1. They have some existing back-end services that are on .NET Framework 4.6. And so he talks about, the process of, well, first of all, what they used when they updated the client factory and web application factory. He talks about their process of how they kind of rolled over to the new system and, had kind of a canary server and kind of throttled traffic over to it. And then as far as what they saw for response, I think the thing that jumps out to me is the kind of top numbers on here are the previous version, and then the kind of bottom graph, the green one, is 2.1. And what you'll see, some of these are, they're not enormously huge, but a lot of what I see here is a lot smoother.
Right. You're
not seeing these big, like spikes. So you'll see, especially if we look at CPU, for instance, it's eliminating a lot of the spikes out of there.
Right.
I think this one actually, the average perf level is 43% improvement. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's it. That's my sharing of the week.
Very cool. I am fiddling with all the stream settings. People were complaining that the stream was saying that it was a gaming stream. And so I think this is us getting to grips with the YouTube live streaming platform, as we've previously just used Hangouts, right? And then when you go in and start a call, go in and start a stream on YouTube, you can just say, oh, the simple thing, I just use Hangouts, and then it just kind of launches Hangouts and you do it. But because we're using a proper live stream, there's a lot of the stuff has to be set up manually, I think, like in the browser. So I'm like fiddling with stuff and seeing if it updates in real time. So yeah, I think this has been okay. I think we've got something going now where the people say you sound great. So I actually turned off, I had my desktop audio was looping back into the stream software. And so I think somehow I had 2 of your tracks. So I actually don't know where your audio is coming from, which is odd.
Don't touch anything.
So somehow they're hearing you, and I'm hearing you, but I'm not really sure where that's coming from. But like Michael is saying 5 out of 5 for the AV. Like everything is much smoother video. I'm assuming we don't have the audio video sync issues that we used to have, and I think it's set up as a 1080p stream. I didn't even get time to fiddle with the OBS streaming stuff, so I'm down mixing to like only 30 frames a second, and I'm only doing like 3 megabits a second. We could do a lot better. Like for a 1080p stream, I could bump that up to like 8 megasecond, and it would be even better. But apparently it's working really well. So I was like, don't touch anything. It looks really good. Stop talking, Damien. But this is obviously a huge improvement on what we've had before. The trick will be, can we walk in 2 weeks from now and just plug in and hit a button and have it all work first time? And also, it's a little clumsy to change scenes right now. Like, I'd love to get this little panel over here working.
Well, we didn't try sharing your desktop yet. I don't know.
No. Well, I don't think that. Yeah. That. So, well, no, I actually am sharing my desktop. That's how they're seeing you.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, like, I have you running on the Skype call on this monitor, and then I've told OBS to mirror this external display to the stream as a source, and then I can flip between them. But this Stream Deck thing, usually lights up with a bunch of programmable buttons, and you can program it to say hit now to stream and change scene, 1, 2, 3. Golnaz is in there saying yes, we're going to get it to work, because she owns this room, she got this all going. So I think we're on the road to something really, really sweet here. We just need to persevere, and we'll get there. But I think so far we're seeing video looks amazing, audio looks really good now. We just need to get the direction and all that sort of stuff going through. So
okay,
yeah.
And so I don't know if we officially said this is Podcast Studio C, or this is Channel 9 Studio C, which is their podcast OBS studio.
Yeah, it's brand new. Like, this is literally launched like a week and a half ago or something. And like, it has all this cool stuff too. Like, you can't actually, it's not in shot at the moment, and maybe Golnaz will teach me how to make the camera move. I don't know if I can while I'm sitting here. But there's like paraphernalia on the walls here. So there's like, you can see this Bill Gates book and the Satya's book, and there's like a cabinet behind me with some old a Visual Basic. There's even a HoloLens.
There's a whiteboard.
There's a HoloLens up here, look.
Oh my gosh.
It might be a prop, but it looks like a HoloLens. And Golnaz is saying she has no idea how we're getting John's audio, which is what I was saying. It's like, I don't even know how it's working. But everyone can hear you and I can hear you, so that's good. But
I'm talking really loud.
Really, really loudly. But there's actually boxes of like old, like there's PowerPoint for Macintosh like over here on the wall. I think she's actually going to come in now and try and pan the camera so that everyone can actually see what I'm talking. Oh, look at that! Look, see, there's like stuff. Look at this. And if we were really dedicated, we could like bring our own props every week. I'll have a cabinet. I could pull them out before the show. And we get like, oh, it's the ASP.NET show. Anyway, all the flight simulators up there. I'm kind of geeking out, but the lighting is much better. Obviously, we don't have a green screen, and I think Tim asked before, how are we going to do the dramatic zoom out?
Yeah, I don't know.
It might require Golnaz to come in and be camera person. Well, it's on a rig. You can't walk away, so she'll have to actually like push a button and like I use the zoom ring or something. But we probably zoomed out as far as it goes.
HoloLens. I got one of these things.
Oh, hang on. I need to show this to everyone. Hang on. Ooh. Yes, the camera is currently moving. People are saying, is the camera swiveling? It's doing like a live tracking shot back to back. There you go. So everyone can now see you. So that is the Lenovo Windows mixed reality headset, right?
Yes. Yep. So so normally they're $400 US. Right. It was half price sale, and the sales are pretty aggressive on the Microsoft Store. So like if you take a look, if it's not on a good sale, like the HP will be or whatever. But I was pretty shocked by like how now it does take a good graphics card.
Yes.
But other than that, I was pretty surprised. I like hook it up and I'm like, whoa, it's like compared to the experience you get from like a HoloLens or whatever, it's decent, you know?
No, I've heard pretty good things about them if you're into that stuff. So the only other thing I was going to chat about today was we did push an announcement around the 2.2 plans for ASP.NET. Excuse me, last week, I think. Last week? Week before? I don't know. And they're super high level. Like we don't have the low level detail yet, but it's kind of like brushes that sort of paints the high level features that we want to, or scenarios that we're trying to tackle. We've got some feedback around some of them. So like the desire to have a story to do API auth, as part of the stack is an interesting one. We've had a couple attempts at trying to solve this gap in the last few years. Obviously, Identity Server is a well-established product for supporting like all types of stuff to let you do that. But there was a desire to try and have an experience there that was perhaps a little simpler to get started, and especially for kind of first-party scenarios, like if I'm just using an ASP.NET Core app to an ASP.NET Core app, or like a Xamarin app to an ASP.NET Core app, and I don't need to support third-party applications, I only need to support my applications talking to my APIs. Could we make that like really, really, really smooth? And so we're actually talking to the Identity Server folks about that like now. So we're going to have, I think there's a call happening later this week to try to talk through those scenarios, and can we come up with a way of making solving that problem like super, super smooth, and then figuring out how we go about getting that experience into customers' hands. Whether that's recommending it through great documentation, whether that's people on the ASP.NET, engineers on the ASP.NET team helping to code that in Identity Server, whether it's the ASP.NET Core team building a shim that kind of creates a nice sort of low config or zero config story for first-party APIs that then plugs into Identity Server, or something else. Like we need to figure those things out. But we're having those discussions. What we don't want to do is just build a different thing if we can avoid it, right? If there's a good solution out there and it's well supported, like by the foundation or backed by a company, and then we can work with those with that project, and that's what we would prefer to do. So that's what we're trying to figure out how to solve right now. Other features, like Tim just asked about health checks. That's something that we've been wanting to do for a while as well, which is in the list. So we're going to see how we go on that. The often cited and wanted IIS in-process hosting, which we wanted to do in 2.1, but we just didn't have time to finish it. That will be in 2.2. So that's being worked on right now and is more highly funded now. It's a complicated area to get right. We want to make sure, obviously, we get it right. So we're doing that. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff around APIs. So we talked about this a couple months ago, and I sort of gave that sneak peek, and the list has got a bit shorter since then, as we do costing and stuff. But that's still a desire, which is like, how do we build a good end-to-end for descriptive HTTP APIs in ASP.NET Core? From producing open API endpoints, from writing as little code. So you write your controllers. You don't want to have to do Uber attribute soup to have them be well descripted. So that's the API convention stuff we're working on. Then you have an endpoint that emits a Swagger doc or an Open API doc. Today you might use Swashbuckle for that, or NSwag, and then you may want to go from there and then generate code. So you might want to go and actually generate like a client, so a C# client or a TypeScript client, as part of your system. So we're looking at that full end-to-end, and again, we're trying to figure out, well, what should we be doing in the product, like in the framework itself, to make that end-to-end work well, and then what is there already in the ecosystem that we could leverage or help improve or recommend or whatever, to sort of make that end-to-end really shine. So we're looking at NSwag, we're looking at Swashbuckle. We work at Microsoft itself has AutoRest, which is a Node-based tool for producing clients. It's used by the Azure SDK, so we obviously it'd be interesting to try and integrate with that as an option. So we're exploring that area as well. I see a bunch of folks like throwing out there, I want this, what about this, what about this? So Dan is on holiday at the moment. Blazor is not going to be in 2.2, I'm sorry. Just so people know, it's not on the 2.2 roadmap, but we do have some interesting things going on over in the Razor space, but that'll be more 3.0, and we'll have more to share about that. I mean, we talked about that, I think, in the last show that the Blazor crew was on, when they talked about Steve showed the demo of like Blazor running remote to .NET Core in Electron, and then, like the weird, like the server mode where it's still the Blazor engine, but it's actually server rendered and then sent down to the client rather than having WebAssembly in the client. So that's an area that's being explored as well, to figure out sort of what's the roadmap looking forward for all the stuff that we've tried out on Blazor. How do we sort of turn that into real things that we can ship over the next few versions? What was the other one that came up here? Oh, microservice template. Yeah, so the idea of like, if you're building microservices, what can we do to make that simpler? Now, it's an interesting discussion. There's obviously a lot of customers who are being super successful building microservices on .NET Core today, like we know because we've talked to them. But to do that, there's a lot of concerns that come up with regards to, well, when you build a microservices and a highly distributed application, you need to solve a bunch of different challenges. And we don't offer solutions like out-of-the-box solutions for all those challenges because it's still an evolving area. Depending on where you run, you might want to solve them differently. For a lot of those challenges, there's more than one incumbent solution, and they all have pros and cons. And so just saying you should use this one is probably not the right thing to do. And so we're working through, like Glenn sort of owns this, on our team, is figuring out like what's the right approach here to really help customers be successful building microservices using ASP.NET Core and .NET Core. And so there's a bunch of stuff that some incremental improvements that we've been doing, and then there's some bigger things that we need to figure out. One of those things might be a template. One of those things might be a set of templates or a set of scaffolds and some documentation, and some tooling and some other things that help you go from nothing to I have this large distributed application with a couple of microservices for doing X, Y, and some process that does background processing and like a message bus and da. Which we're getting well beyond just like, oh, it's a web framework and it spits out HTML or JSON. Now it's a much bigger concern we have to deal with. So we're thinking about all the different ways that we can look at that as well. I think in EF 2.2, they're looking at doing the Cosmos DB provider for EF, which I know a lot of folks are excited about, which is cool. And then there's probably some other stuff I'm forgetting, but all that stuff is well underway. So if folks want to go and get involved from the open source side, you can check out the repos themselves. There's issues created and work happening on most of those things. Oh, HTTP2 finally coming in Kestrel as well, which will be great. And we're hoping to get a start on HTTP2 in the client as well, so that with HTTP client, you'd be able to get HTTP2 support as well, which would be fantastic. So, and then for 3.0, we don't really have, we're doing that planning right now because 3.0 is obviously a little bit further out and we're all pretty busy building 2.2 right now. But for ASP.NET Core, there are folks looking at listing out a whole bunch of potential things or sort of proposed things for 3.0, and then we'll have to go through a process of actually trimming that down and deciding and prioritizing and all that type of stuff. So, but yeah, 2.2 is the next best thing, the next big thing, I should say.
If people have top features they would love to see in 3.0, is there a good place to? I'm guessing there's probably already issues open in the ASP.NET Home repo or wherever, and they should just vote, like star those, or
yeah,
what's a good way to? For
some of them, like, so, obviously first thing I would say is search, and if you find something that's something that you want in that time frame, then by all means, comment on it or I'll vote it up. If you don't find it, then log it. Say this is, and just try and give us as much information about why it's important. One of the things, as always, we've talked about before is owning a platform like this, with somewhat, we don't have an infinite team. We have like 20 odd people that work on this stuff. We have to, and like 3.0 seems like a long way away. Like, we're going to ship it next year sometime. But we have to ship 2.2 before that, and we have to do previews, and we have to service all the other stuff. So we're still quite busy, triaging and fixing bugs in 1.0 and 1.1 and 2.0 and 2.1 now. So we actually have 4 versions of ASP.NET Core and .NET Core that we have to service right now. Some folks will have heard that we announced the end of life of 2.0, so it could be, as a result of 2.1 coming out, 2.1 became the current release, and the .NET Core support policy stipulates that when the next current release comes out, the previous current, the clock starts ticking, and it's a 3-month window. But we had a couple of blocking issues that were preventing people from moving to 2.1, so we actually added a month to that window. So 2.0 will end of life in October. But up until then, we continue, we have to support it. So we have to, people log issues and we do investigations, and we do it fits into our monthly servicing, patch cycle that we do. So, we've already done a 2.1.1. We had that release in June. It's now July. There will probably be a servicing release this month, and there will definitely be a servicing release next month. And again, all that work is pretty public. So if folks are interested in what's coming down the pipe for the next servicing release, they can go and see those issues and those branches on the .NET and ASP.NET and EF repos and look at the bugs that are actually being fixed for servicing. And so that's it. We have a monthly servicing release, and so you can expect those bug fixes to come through fairly quickly. But it is, it's complicated. People can probably imagine that having to think about developing the next 2.2 while also thinking about 3.0 while also thinking about patching 4 simultaneous versions in the meantime is fairly expensive. But that's part of the product. That's part of one of the reasons why folks choose things like .NET, is because we have these support policies and you can get things fixed without having to wait 6 months or a year for the next release. So that's just part and parcel of what's valuable. We have a couple of questions. I can take a couple of questions, and then it's going to be 5 o'clock, so then we can probably end up. Question from Al3891: How is the work unifying web host and generic host going? It's not right now. In fact, the question came up today. I was in a meeting quickly today about 3.0 planning, and that was a question that David and Glenn asked. So there is a desire to do something. It'll happen in the 3.0 timeframe. We're not exactly sure what it is yet. Whether we change the idiom to all be generic hosts, so that if you build a new web app in 3.0, it would use the generic host. But the web host API is still there. So obviously we don't want to break you. So if you upgrade from 2 to 3, we're not going to just remove the API. The other option is we rebuild the web host API on top of generic host, but we haven't figured that out yet. Let's have the next one. Any progress on TypeScript to C# converter for accessing browser APIs in Blazor? Sorry, I don't know anything about Blazor progress today on that. Is it possible to access a Signaler hub via a pure WebSocket from Zeus? Yes, it is possible. The thing is, you do need a bit of code to speak the hub protocol. Okay, so even you can establish a Signaler connection over a pure WebSocket. So rather than making a negotiate request, you can just talk directly to the WebSocket, and then you will start speaking the Signaler protocol straight over the WebSocket. Okay, if it's and that's the hub protocol. So you need to have code in the client that's speaking WebSocket that knows how to parse the incoming messages that are hub messages and knows how to send them back to the server. And that code is in the Signaler client. So I believe there are samples around where you can use the Signaler client, like the JavaScript client, and then you can initialize a WebSocket call separately, and then you can pass that in to one of the Signaler client layers to do that. So it is possible. I don't know if there's docs specifically on how to do that yet. Doing it from C#, I'm not sure. I think the client's factored the same way. I'd have to ask some folks on the Signaler team. Someone has asked, where did the universe come from? Beyond my pay grade. If they're talking about the if they're talking about the repo on the ASP.NET org, that was created by the ASP.NET team. Question: is it a good moment to move to ASP.NET Core? Yeah, right now. I mean, yeah, it all depends on obviously lots and lots of factors, but plenty of folks have moved there already. I'd say that 2.1 is certainly, and the latest release is the best one to start with if you're looking at moving. But it'll all come down to what type of app you're building and what type of APIs you depend on and where you want to run and all those type of benefits. Question: why is 3.0 called 3.0? I guess there is some major breaking change or deprecated stuff is removed. No, we don't intend on making big breaking changes. So we don't always use, we don't follow Semver to the T because Semver really doesn't deal with how to version a product that is built up of lots of other smaller libraries. So in this case, it also says that sometimes, it's common to represent a major number, it's common to use the major number change as not only for a breaking change, but just a large set of changes landing at once. In the case of .NET Core, we had the wave, .NET Core 1. The wave was really about establishing, cross-platform .NET, getting ASP.NET Core running, and really targeting those workloads. .NET Core 2 was about sharing code, and so we added .NET Standard 2. We built the .NET Standard library, and we added back a whole bunch of APIs that made it easier to share code between different .NETs while continuing to move forward on the ASP.NET Core workload. .NET Core 3 is really all about desktop. It's really about adding back those desktop workloads. And that's going to be a large enough change that it warrants calling, the next version 3. There will very likely be a .NET Standard version change as well. I think there was a meeting about that earlier today, so we'll hear more about that in the coming weeks and months. And there will be some ASP.NET Core changes in .NET Core 3 as well, obviously. But the big thing that's landing, as was announced to build this year, is obviously the desktop workloads. The camera is moving. So for the folks that are asking, is the camera? It is. It's on a beam, and it literally is going like this, very slowly from side to side, like a very long tracking shot. It's quite artistic. Apparently, it's making some people seasick. Okay, that is.
So there was a question on Cosmos DB, and I did my best to link to there. As far as I see, it is listed for the 2.2.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's my understanding. Yep. And I think there was a prototype demo done at one point a while ago, which got some folks excited about it, and then it didn't land in 2.1. But my understanding is it is in the EF plans for 2.2. Cool. All right. Well, it is 4:59, and I think we've spent enough time today futzing around with.
So from the chat, I did not realize, but the dramatic zoom out is actually the DZO now. It's enough of a thing that it's
really
the DZO.
It has its own acronym. I didn't know that. Okay. Well, so I do have one way of doing a dramatic zoom out. So I think we should just do this way that I know will work.
Okay.
You ready? I'm going to see if I can make it work. So here it goes. I'm going to grab this. Oh, well, or Golnaz could come in there. But I was going to do something different. I'm going to see if I can make this work. See if it works. She's going to she's stopping the pan. I'm going to see if this works. Oh. And what's interesting about this dramatic zoom out is that you will appear in my place behind me. Look. Oh. So I zoomed out, and then you're just really big.
Oh. I take over. This is like the last man standing.
And I could do this just to make everyone really, really nauseous. No, I won't do that. Okay. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.